Today we're going to talk about what you want to do when you're turning your irrigation on for the first time in the spring. We call this the spring startup. And this really just looks like making sure everything's working. So big picture, we're just going to make sure all the valves are turning on from the controller. We'll just manually operate them, make sure all your wiring is still good. We're going to check out the filter, pull that out, see how dirty it got last season, maybe give it a scrub and a rinse. And then we're also going to walk through each zone and then do the look, listen, and feel. Look for leaks, listen for leaks, and just plug up any minor kind of soft tubing leaks. So when we're getting started with the spring startup, I like to uncover the valve box. That way we can just get a visual on what's happened over the winter. A lot of times the gophers fill them with earth. Thank you very much. That's also usually where the filter is, and we want to inspect the filter. All right, so I'm just taking a quick look here. Only one black widow right there. But in general, valve box looks really pretty good. It's not filled with earth. Shutoff is accessible if there's any issues later in the season. None of the wiring is buried in earth, and it's not really strewn about. Filter, we notice here, is not right here, so we're going to have to look for that. It's probably closer to where the takeoff is. So we're going to leave it open, but I don't really think there's really any action to take here. All right, here, I just had to crawl under the deck to find the filter. This is the main kind of irrigation takeoff, and you know, some people install the filters on each valve. We like to do a filter upstream of all the valves just to protect the valves from any gunk that might get in the system and prevent any leaky valves or like slow closing valves. So I'm just going to open up the filter now. I'll use the quick clean thing on the bottom. We'll just see what comes out, and then we're going to hit the main shut off and actually open up the filter housing. All right, this is the quick clean for the filter. This is kind of what I would use in season. So all the dirty stuff stays on the inside of the filter, and if you go like this, it's supposed to just squirt out any of the junk. But I like to look a little bit deeper. So we're going to turn the water off here, and then we're going to open her up just to take a look. Really only doing this once a season unless I know I have really bad water quality. Like I'm on a well and I have high iron or manganese, usually it's not an issue. So I really look on the inside, that's where the junk is. And this one looks pretty good. I don't really see anything. This house is also on city water, so we don't really expect that much. Most of the time for folks on city water, I'm probably only looking at this maybe once a year. So this filter actually looks pretty good. I don't even need to take any further action, but if it was a little bit dirtier, we could take it out to the hose, blast it. We could blast it in this direction. We could blast down in this direction. I also usually like to have a bottle brush handy, and we just scrub the inside with a bottle brush, rinse it out, and then put it all back together, and you're good to go for the season. All right, this is the part of the spring startup where we're really doing the look, listen, and feel for each zone. So we're going to turn on a zone, we're going to listen, hear the startup sounds when the system is pressurizing, and you probably get lots of hissing and as the system is pushing the air out of the drip tubing. And then we're going to walk through the zone. When there is tubing exposed, such as this tree here, we're just going to look at the tube, make sure that we're getting dripping kind of evenly out of each emitters. We're not going to look at this for every tree, but we're going to kind of get a feel for what this system is working like. If I have one tree and there are emitters that aren't really emitting, or it's really sporadic, like only a few are emitting out of a whole ring on a tree, that's just an indication that there's problems probably elsewhere as well. And maybe there's a pressure issue or a water quality issue, and that we should look further. But at this tree, really not much else to see here other than I'm seeing what I like. So this is where we're listening. And these are normal sounds of your system starting up and it just pushing the air out. When we listen for these sounds, this is really just telling us where a zone is if we don't already know in the landscape. And these little gurgles and hisses, like over here, I'm not really worried about these noises. It's more so the hiss and the gurgle that persists past this initial pressurizing. So it can take anywhere from like 5 to 15 seconds depending on how big the zone is. And we're going to listen kind of past this gurgle section and look for any kind of hisses or squirting sounds that might be below the surface. And so I just look a little closer. There we got a little cut, maybe a rodent chew. And I'm just going to turn the zone off and throw a coupler in there. Alright, soft tubing repairs are just quick. We keep the spin lock couplers on the truck just because they work with all sizes of tube. Ooh, the tubing's a little cold, so work it on there. And we're seeing, cut out the damaged part here, we're seeing a little bit of drainage out of the tube even though the water is turned off. That's just because we're at a low point in this zone. Gonna work it back together. And then nestle the tubing back in the mulch on top of the compost. Alright, so we were just a few feet over and system was kind of done pressurizing, and then I hear some other kind of running water noise. So we come over here and we just kind of look around, and bam, it'd be good to not have that running that way the whole season. Looks like a figure eight just fell off somehow. So we'll go grab one of those from the truck and then you're good to go. Alright, so we went through each of the zones, we did the look, listen, and feel, we cleaned out the filter. I'd say this thing's ready for the season, so we're just going to close up the valve box, pull the mulch back over, and then ready to start growing.